listeners to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana. Now, today's episode is dedicated to exploring the transformative power of play, both as a path to mental clarity and also physical well being. And today's topic, Play with Thyself, which is the key to mental and physical well being and mindfulness, it dives deep into how embracing, how joyful play can rekindle our inner child, spark creativity, and even combat modern challenges like digital overload, getting those barrage of information, digital information, having that stress and anxiety, and also isolation. Because you would agree with me, listeners, that isolation is creeping in right now. It's basically an endemic. So, joining me for this wonderful conversation is remarkable Zander Phelps. Now, over a decade of globetrotting with nothing but a pack on his back and a sack in his pocket, Xander has discovered that play isn't merely a pastime. It's not exactly a hobby. It is a universal language of love that breaks down barriers and heals both body and mind. So let's quickly jump into the conversation. Susander, welcome to the show. And as always, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you, son. It's great to be here, sweet. Appreciate that.
Okay, Xander, your mantra, which is play with thyself, it resonates with so many people. So could you share what initially sparked this journey for you and how embracing play has reshaped your views on mental and physical well-being?
Yeah, I mean, the spark was when I started traveling. A friend gave me a foot bag. His yeah, that's it's called a foot bag or a hacky sack is the general term for it. But this allowed me to connect with people in profound ways really quickly.
Mhm,
So it became my mantra to basically when I got to a new area or something to go find a park and then I would start to play with myself.
mhm,
That's where that's where that came from. But as I would do this, not I would it was a quickly a way for me to get into the local area by going barefoot and getting grounded, if you will. So I connected with the local energy of the place. But
mhm.
I would, no matter what type of situations, if I just traveled far or something like that, I would get energized by playing. But
Okay,
and I'd reset my body. My brain would go into a meditative state, basically. Because
okay,
you're focused on the play.
okay.
But this was also an invitation for other people to jump in with me. And I
Mhm.
mean, it was pretty consistent that if I started playing, I would somebody would come up and play with me.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. So that is individual and also community driven at the same time. I think that's
Yes,
the beauty here. Ah,
100%.
yeah,
And especially as you were mentioning how we're so isolated now and we feel
yeah.
so alone. As we're more interconnected in this world now via these computers, the devices, we feel more alone and isolated because we get
Mhm.
locked into it. So to break that pattern, you need something that's going to motivate you to get outside, and that's what I found that kicking around a footbag has done for me. It made me want to go outside and go to this park and find people, but it just it quickly transformed into an amazing fun thing.
Reminds me of, and I was watching some, concerts back in the 90s or early 2000s, since being a millennial, concerts and people I it's kind of so surprising to see that people didn't have any phones, no phones, no torches, nothing. They're simply enjoying the vibe, the concert. They're actually, enjoying it. It was
Yes.
so surprising and so endearing to see that. It was kind of remembering the good old days.
Right? No,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You go to a concert now, and I went to one recently, and everybody has their phones out. You look across the crowd, and everyone has their phones up, and they're looking through their phones at the concert. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, be present. You know, you're not gonna look back through your phone and go, oh, look at this concert I was missing while I was recording it. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. And that's yeah, it's very it's sad for me because I humans are amazing. We are amazing creatures. And to see how we're so disconnected now. Like, you know, I noticed this profoundly when I went to the airports and traveled, just because that first time when I started traveling, it was in 95 and nobody had cell phones.
Yeah.
And so I can go out and like the basic story is that I when I got to the airport, my flight was delayed, and so I started playing, and then a guy came up and played with me, and we played for about 3 hours while the flight was
Wow.
delayed, and
Mhm.
then when we were going on the airplane, the hostess lady at the terminal stopped us and said, "Thank you. You entertained this whole crowd for 3 hours. You don't have any idea how many people were talking about you playing, but you did a great job, you know." And now when I go through the airport, everybody is on their phones. There's nobody looking up, and I'm juggling. I juggle now more than I play hack, but I'm juggling as I'm walking down the airport, and maybe one out of every 100 person will look up or smile or something, but it's nowhere near like it used to be. People used to interact and people, you know, observe people. People watching was a big thing. Now it's not.
Yeah. No, it's not. Now it's creepy.
Right. Yeah. Why are you looking at me? Yeah, yeah, no. So true. So true.
Ah. So,
Yeah.
Xander, another interesting part, and I think it's really a gift that you have connected with diverse cultures through play. It's a really gift because when you interact with different cultures, when you get to know so many new things which are happening around the world, I think it kind of brings you that open-mindedness and also helps you become more aware about the present. And that's what I can directly connect with mindfulness. So how do you believe these playful interactions have helped create a universal language of love? And why is this connection more crucial now than ever in our tech-driven world?
Ah, that's a great question. It's as you mentioned, like when I went to a new place, I could immediately jump in, and it didn't matter my color, it didn't matter my beliefs, it didn't matter anything about it. It's I could play. And
Mm-hmm.
so you've got that same spirit anywhere you go in the world. It's 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 universal. Everyone wants to play. It's how children interact with things. It's
Yeah,
how we all can really see how a person is by the way they play, right?
exactly.
So, um, you know, that's that famous quote from Plato, although they kind of said that he might not have said it, but it was along the lines of an hour of play is a lifetime of conversation. But
Mhm.
it's true. Like I can detect a person how they handle every situation through a playful game. You can tell a lot about their character. So this is the way of interconnecting safely. You know, it's through play that we can do it in a safe environment, and it's all just based around play. So it's a universal language. I believe it's embedded into our DNA, and you know, it's just it's just profound. It didn't again. I didn't have to speak the same language with people. Like if I was in a culture where I didn't speak the language, play and the way, especially with the hack, the little kicking around the foot bag, everyone understands it. There's no, you don't have to explain any rules. There's nothing going on with it other than just kicking around.
True, absolutely true. And this again takes me back to the childhood days, where during summer vacations or after school, we used to just, get out in the summer and play with all our friends or, all the kids in the community. And
Yeah.
that used to be so refreshing, so refreshing. And
It's yeah, it's amazing, and how many people aren't doing that these days. I was talking with a friend in England who was mentioning how he doesn't see kids in the streets anymore.
yeah,
Nobody's running around like and biking around everywhere. He's like dead in the streets. Nobody goes out and plays anymore.
Not at all.
So it just hurts us so deeply, and we're not aware of it either. You know what I mean? We're not conscious of it. So that's part of the mission, is to get people aware of how important it is just to go outside and experience life again.
Exactly, exactly. And when we say play with thyself, uh, it's not just sports or physical activity. It can be anything, which leverages your creativity, which helps you in feeling that that warmth and positivity. So, for the sake of our listeners, would you like to explain what exactly do you mean by play with thyself?
Yes, 100%. It's play can incorporate it to anything. It's a way to reset your brain to think of the world from a different angle, from a different perspective. I call it the play flow state. But what I try to train people to do is take mundane tasks and look at them from a different perspective, and by incorporating play into it. Um, this it can be for everything. I mention this all the time. Like if I'm cleaning or something like that, I try to do little dances. Or if I'm walking down the street, I jump around and move different ways. Basically, because I also recognize that if you walk in the same way with shoes on, it really cuts down the activity of your whole spine. It cuts down, you get in the same muscles moving. So you want to change it up anyway, but I make it playful so that my mind is just having fun with it, and I laugh at my stupidity, if you will. But what you can do is, if you get in this habit of learning how to play with yourself, you can take all of these regular tasks and transform it into a way that even in your brain is kind of chuckling at what you're doing. But it goes across the board. I mean, literally, there's all types of things you can do, just to amuse yourself. But a great example of this is, I was going into a company for a job interview, and
Mhm,
I entered this big room, and there was all these computers. It was one of these new companies that was coming up in Silicon Valley, a tech company. And so all these kids were on these computers, and I was coming in for a job interview to be like a manager. But
mhm,
um, like the boss gave me a run around of the room, and then as we were leaving, the boss turns to me and winks, and he goes, "Wait, check this out. You guys shoot him up." All of a sudden, everybody erupted in the room. They all pulled out these Nerf guns, and they just started shooting each other. And like, people were diving all over the place, running around the room, just shooting everybody. And it just was this mayhem. But it died down pretty quickly. They knew they had a little time to do this, but the atmosphere of the room changed up. Everyone was just smiling. Everyone, they picked up all their bullets. Everyone got right back to work, but everyone was just, you could feel the atmosphere in the room change. And they knew that these were going to come up every once in a while. And the culture of the company was, we work hard, but we play hard. And it really struck me as a way to see the power of play in the moment, and what a difference it made. Because he just told me later on, he's like, we have found this our productivity increases dramatically. People are way more creative, and they recognize that it's okay to have fun at work. So it is a huge transformation in the work ethic thing that we have going on, and hopefully that starts the new revolution of way we can do things.
absolutely, absolutely, and I think it definitely answers to the perspective or the argument that in the fast-paced society, play might be seen as a distraction from achieving a concrete and goal-oriented outcomes. I think balancing everything can definitely it enhances productivity. To
100%.
Also, Xander, talking about your personal journey, there's a very inspiring, heart-warming story behind, how actually playing helped you heal, and you overcame a hernia, so you could keep playing, and that's incredibly moving. So, can you throw some light on that for our listeners?
Yeah, I was. I was living on in one of the Hawaiian islands at the time, and on this island I was known as the ambassador of play. So there was a big farmers market every weekend, and I was the guy who came out there, and I had a little tent up in front, and everybody who was walking towards the farmers market, I would try and get them to play, especially if they had a family. I'm like, come on, you guys, let's play. Um, but yeah, it was one day where I was jumping on a trampoline with my son, and my hernia, I got an inguinal hernia. Something popped out of my body first of all, and I felt it, and I was like, oh my God. I lifted up my shirt, and there was just a bulge there. So I went to the doctor, and he's like, yeah, you got an inguinal hernia, and he basically said, we're going to have to do surgery, or you're just going to live with it. All right.
Oh,
And now I looked into what surgeries were, and I don't like surgery in general. I'm not a big fan of it, but to go in to get a mesh, the thing that they would typically do in their body is really damaging for your body. Like it's a foreign substance, so your body kind of tries to expel it all the time, tries to push it out, and then you get connective tissue that attaches to it, and it's just a mess. So
mm,
I didn't want that, and I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? I looked on the internet for remedies or cures, and nothing was on there. So um, I knew that I couldn't just live with it, right? Because I could walking around was a little bit painful, but I definitely couldn't run. I definitely couldn't kick. I couldn't jump. So I was like, I can't just live with this. I'm not going to get the surgery. So um, I'm going to give myself 6 months to get back in a playful state. If I can't do it in 6 months, I'm going to do the surgery. But I ended up trying a bunch of things. I'd been to massage school, so I started doing my own type of self massage. I changed my diet up to liquefy it so that my digestive system could rest and my body was focused just on healing. And then with the attitude every day I woke up, I was like, I've got this. I'm My body can heal. It's my body's a miracle. You know, and every day that my calendar was that I did not check off play, like I was like, I'm going to be bummed out. So I I was able to get the hernia to go back in about 2 weeks, and then 1 month later, I was kicking around the hack, and then within 2 months, I was running around playing ultimate disc or ultimate frisbee with my team. Like I was on a team on Kauai, and so I was able to play with my friends again, like a hard game. Like ultimate disc is very challenging. It's a lot of running and quick movements and stuff. So I it was I impressed myself. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh my God, I did this. So I did not know how rare it was at the time. I did not know that it's I've just recently found out how extraordinary that was, and not very many people actually heal hernias. So I was kind of going at it from an ignorant state. I mean, I just didn't think that the internet had any information on it, but I didn't hear anything like, oh, it can't be done. So I took it like it can and will be done.
mm. Wow, wow. That is really, really humbling and motivating as well, Xander. It really makes us rethink how we approach our own physical limitations and the healing power of play. So, really, really motivating.
We are extraordinary. We just have to know we are and go in 100% believe with it. But I believe in the magical of that our bodies are. We are magnificent creatures.
Also, Xander, mindfulness, when we talk about mindfulness, it's typically associated with stillness and meditation, you know. And yet your approach emphasizes active, playful engagement. So how do you reconcile this apparent paradox of movement and mindfulness?
That's a great question. Okay. I lived in an ashram in Colorado for a while, in the mountains of Colorado. And I was meditating every morning, every evening, doing yoga practice and all these things to try to, I was a monk, had my head shaved. I was trying to really focus on that path. But one time my guru actually saw me playing hack. I was playing hack at the park, and he came because like that's your focus, that's your center. That's I can see it in your movement that you are in your state. And he just basically said that's a meditation in motion. And it really became apparent to me that when I'm doing my hack, all I'm focusing is on that ball. The world just disappears. And that's kind of what he was trying to get me to do in meditation. He's like, just think about nothing but focus on something that's nothing. You know what I mean? But uh, so it's in that state, and I call it the play flow state. But when I'm in that state, everything drops away. My worries drop away. I don't have anything I have to think about other than that moment of getting my body to move. And I have found that that's given me that type of focus that I was looking for in meditation. I still sit and meditate, um, pretty regularly, but my mind is always pinging.
Mm.
I'll be like, oh, what about this? And I've got monkey brain. I'm all over the place, and I've tried to sit there and focus, and I'm trying to do things like this, but it's not as successful as I'd like to be. I sometimes go into a good state, but most of the time it's not. But every time I've played hack, I get into a similar state where my mind just relaxes, yet stays focused.
Wow, wow, that absolutely makes sense. Great, great, Zander. So
Yeah.
before we wrap up, as someone who has experienced the transformative power of play firsthand, what practical advice would you offer our viewers, I mean our listeners, who are grappling with mental health or maybe physical health challenges, or just a sense of disconnection in this digital age?
A great. I work with digital detox programs about how to refocus yourself. One of the things I'm always recommending to everybody that I can is the simple practice of learning how to juggle. Um, it is profound. Not only uh, it as an exercise for the brain, it is above and beyond because you work both the left and right hemispheres. You're working with your hands, which your brain takes a lot of energy and neuron connections to work your hand. So as you're closing one hand, you're opening up the other hand simultaneously and then going back and forth. So the brain is having a symphony of connections going on. It's alive. It's just pinging back and forth in this beautiful way. So juggling is something you can do almost everywhere, but not only does it build neuron connections, they think it's one of the only things that builds white as well as gray matter in the brain. But what it's been known to do is help people with addictions. So I actually teach recovery programs. I share with them juggling so that they can find this other focus. But when you do juggling, especially if you're about ready to go do your thing that you usually are addicted to, and instead you juggle, the brain starts pulling those neurons that are connected with that addiction towards juggling. So in this way, we're trying to get people to get off that quality of trying to jump on the phone and scroll, put down the phone, grab some juggling balls, start practicing your juggling, and you will get the brain to send out the chemical reactions that keep you addicted. It sends out epinephrine, dopamine. You get all of these chemical reactions going on in the brain that keep you addicted, and the brain loves it. So I also have a program where I teach people how to make the foot bag so that they can continually if it, continually make them, and then you can gift them away to people as well. It's a way to help spread the play movement, the revolution of play. But all of these skills help keep you to give you options, and
Mm.
these options can help cure us from the mental depression that we can get into because we're like, oh, I can always pick up my juggling balls and start juggling, and my brain will find joy in it, and I will have something I can do, so I don't feel trapped and just bored. You know, you can always find a way to get out of boredom just with doing play. So
Yep. And I think it's the perfect example of how mindfulness and play can interplay with each other. I think juggling is one of the best examples of that.
100%. Yeah, and like even to be able to reset your brain. My son's in college right now, and I'm like, if you're trying to study for an exam, do not study for more than 20 minutes straight without taking a little bit of a break because you start crashing your brain. But if you do juggling that time, your brain will relax yet stay focused. So you can do a little bit of juggling, your brain will reset, and then you can jump back in and retain more information. So
Mhm.
it's a great way of resetting your brain and quickly doing it. I juggling is the fastest way to get into that play flow state because as soon as you do it, you're pinging your brain in a way that it starts shutting down the non-essentials.
Lovely, lovely. And also, Xander, how can our listeners connect with you and explore all the resources? Also, your, master classes on cycling.
I do have if you go to the website, which is Hackido or Hackido.org or .com, there is the free juggling course on there. So I teach you how to make nice juggling balls with rice, plastic bags, and balloons. And I teach the steps to juggling, which most people do not go through. They usually just start you with a two ball thing, which is very challenging. So I
Mhm.
start you off at one ball and build up to it so you gain your confidence. And it's just a 5-day course, but you spend each day you spend one day doing one trick. Um, that's like the best thing. Also on the website, teach people there's videos and a stencil that you can download so you can learn how to make what I call the ultimate play tool, which is the foot bag, which you can kick around, slap around, throw around, juggle around, being, knock down cups. I just spent some time with a senior center where the seniors were throwing them inside cups and at me, but we were having a great time for an hour of just with these little balls. They're extraordinary, and anyone can learn how to make them. But that's one of the websites that's great. The other one you can connect with is I have a website on origami, which is another extraordinary brain exercise. That one's a little bit harder to spell out. It's craniogami.org, but if you go to Hakido, it's at the bottom right there. And also Heal My Hernia. If you have a hernia, and you're not in a medical emergency, um, I'd recommend just trying to heal it yourself. Try to do it. The minimal thing with what this course, I have free references, free resources about how I did it, but there's also a program you can purchase that goes into videos of how to do it. But minimally, you will learn more about your body with doing these steps. Like I teach very substantial exercises and ways to help figure out your body a little bit better so that um, if you there's a if you'd explore this area, you will be able to heal yourself in different ways. Hopefully, you'll be able to heal a hernia, and if you ever get the hernia again, you'll know what to do, which is something that you can't do if you have surgery. Once you have surgery, you're going to always have to do surgery. So I encourage people to try it out at least. If you're not in extreme pain and it's not a medical emergency, why not try to see if you can heal it yourself?
Absolutely. Great, great, Xander. We'll have all the details in the show notes along with this episode. And Xander, thank you for sharing your incredible journey, your, incredible wisdom with all of us today on playing play with thyself. And I think you have helped us understand about whether it's reconnecting with our inner child through movement, or just getting into that world of nostalgia or finding moments of stillness. Every bit of play can nurture our mental and physical well-being. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on board. It was a great show. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So, listeners, as I always say, stay curious and keep playing. And until next time on The Mindful Living, I'm your host, Sana, wishing you a life full of joy and genuine human connections. Thank you.